I always love hearing my introduction because then it reminds me that I've actually been doing something with my life, which, to be honest, I often forget because I'm always on the go. So I never know when when something good is happening, when something bad is happening. I'm generally always on the fly. So basically, I'm from Black Fox. Black Fox is also a B2B agency, but we're very niche, and I'll tell you why it's so important to be niche in this new world of ours, right? We'll get to that point in the presentation. But we're niche by selection. We only do technology, so we serve the technology industry. We work with the likes of Microsoft, SAP, VMware, Syspro. We basically cover deep technology products. Who here is from the tech space? 3 people? 3, 4 people? 5 people? Okay, good. You are my friends. Okay, I'm going to turn to you for backup if needed. All right, so let's start with this AI discussion. Who here is using AI actively? Okay, raise your hands and be proud. Yay for AI. Yeah? Okay, good. So we've got a good few people who are active users of AI. Anyone here who deliberately does not use AI because they perhaps hate it? Anyone? Any haters? Any non-believers? Okay, we have one non-believer. Anyone else? Possibly, maybe. Oh, you want to see more stuff? Okay, so I'm not going to go down the road of trying to convince you about the importance of AI. As we go along, I hope you're going to see that this is a foregone conclusion. I want to really focus on the next wave of what we need to be confronting and solving by assuming that this is now an AI reality, okay? So let me start off by clarifying a very vital concept. I think if we start off with this concept, you're all going to be at ease, whether you hate AI or whether you love AI. The first concept is all about what is the fundamental difference between how an AI computes versus how a human being computes. Is there anyone here who sits amongst us who can tell me categorically what is the one fundamental difference architecturally about how an AI computes versus a human being? We have one take at the back.
AI is looking back into the past with the data that has happened, whereas humans can create and look into the future.
You know, I want to give you a gift, but I have no gift to give you, right? You deserve a bells. You deserve something better than bells, you know? That was a fantastic answer. Did everyone get that? Here's the thing. I was actually, I did a panel at the Franschhoek Literary Festival, just happened this weekend. And I was on a panel with another esteemed author. And he wrote a book on AI, mind you, bless him. And he didn't have that vantage point. He didn't have that viewpoint. So I was, I started becoming skeptical about how easy it is for people to understand that concept, and you said it beautifully. So let's just for all of us to get on the same page, let's look at a real life example, okay? Let's take a situation of a young girl that is born into impoverished circumstances. All right, are we all together? So this child who's born into impoverished circumstances, she has come to understand what life is like without money. So she doesn't know when her next meal is going to happen. She knows that meals are few and far between. It's not always going to be easy or comfortable. She knows that there's no real opportunity to go out and do fun things. She has to make do with very little. She has become accustomed to that, right? Now, if this child were an AI, this child will continue to compute based on that information. So when making a decision about the future, or if asked, when will the next meal emerge, this AI would respond on the basis of what the AI knows to be true, which is all the data that it is accustomed to. That is how an AI would function if that child were operating like an AI. But here's where a human being is fundamentally different. This child could fall in love with something to do with her own future. She could fall in love with politics. She could fall in love with business. She could fall in love with dance, with theater, with music. Heaven knows what she might fall in love with. But here's the beautiful thing. based on how she feels about her future, that drive, that determination to do something to create a brand new future is based on her desire for that thing. The fact that she feels an emotion toward that future, that's the thing that compels her towards a new future. So the difference between a human being and an AI is that we have the capacity to feel something for the future. And that's the thing that we call ambition or aspiration or goals or targets. Anything to do with the future, we can fall in love with that thing, and it is our love for that future that compels us towards that future. Do you see that? Now, AI, no matter what you care to believe or not, I'm not going to get into the technical debates and discussions because they can get very philosophical and there's really no use for it. But at the end of the day, the beautiful thing is that a human being can feel things and an AI can never feel things. And to that end, an AI, architecturally speaking, can only compute based on data that it's been fed, and thus it's finding patterns in existing data sets, whereas the human being can compute based on desire for a new future. And that's the fundamental thing that we have to constantly recognize as we plan for an AI future as a bunch of professionals in this room today. Because here's the deal. What we've seen so far over the last year and a bit, we ain't seen nothing yet. There's a lot more coming in the next 4 or 5 years. The way we've been conducting ourselves as professionals on a day-to-day basis will factually, fundamentally change. It's changing right now as we speak, and the rate of change, the acceleration of our change is only getting faster and faster and faster. So the quicker we make peace with that one fundamental difference between how human beings behave and how an AI behaves, it's going to affect two things. It's going to affect the value that we bring as individuals into our professional roles, and it's going to affect the way in which we think about our customers buying. Because here's the deal. AI is going to be doing a lot more of the purchases over the next couple of years. Have you made peace with that? As marketers, AI is going to be factually responsible for the bulk of purchasing transactions. A lot of the stuff that's run at the mill, that's mundane, that's the trite kind of purchasing that people are going to do almost on an automated basis, that's going to be done by AI. How are you going to re-engineer your logic to appeal to that customer segment? And then how are you going to re-engineer the way in which you communicate and appeal to the human segment, which is factually going to have to be operating in a completely different way because humans are going to change, over the next couple of years based on AI. We are. We're going to get a little bit more human. Okay? That's a relief. All right, so let's just look at a couple of things. So what I've done is I've summarized a couple of key points here where we are going to have a look at those key competencies that make humans human and that makes us very different to AI. And we're going to have to get very comfortable with this. And again, for two reasons. We're going to have to determine how do we start making sure that we are not rendered null and void by AI. We're going to have to make that decision with a lot of intention, right? And then we're going to have to also be thinking, how can we appeal to the human, to the new version of the human being that we're going to be appealing to in the next 2 to 3 years. So I've isolated a handful of differences between us and AI, and I put all of this into a book. It's called Age of Agency, and just as a shameless plug, that book is available for purchase just outside these doors. Exclusive Books has set up a little pop-up. That's just for fun. So the few characteristics, the few differences. Number one, resourcefulness. Human beings are fundamentally resourceful, and the need for us to be more and more and more resourceful, that's going to come through a lot more over the next couple of years because we're going to have nothing to do if we're not being resourceful. True story. We have nothing to do over the next couple of years. So the first thing is resourcefulness. Then there's observation. So observation means the ability to see, to identify the things that AI is going to miss. Do you guys realize how little AI can actually see? Like you go now and pick any human being on this floor, go grab them right this second. Go grab a human being, bring them in this room. Any person of your choosing. It doesn't matter what their level of education is, it doesn't matter. They are going to be able to perceive things that AI cannot perceive correctly for the next 10 to 20 years. And that's right now available to you free of charge, as long as you grab the right person. Okay? Ask their permission. Do it politely. But the point is, we are so advanced with our perception. We can read a room. We can pick up on nuances. You can pick up on the energy that's going on. We're talking about understanding customers. We can truly understand what customers are going through. So as marketers, what you've got to do is you've got to really zero in on this quality and bring that to the next level. Because AI can just trawl through data. So if the sum total of your capability right now is, I can read a big Excel spreadsheet and I can read through all of these great descriptors about our personas. No, AI can do that. You have to go one level deeper. You've got to talk about what do our customers really hate. What do they love? What turns them on? You have to really build an emotional relationship with your audiences, right? And even if it makes you come across as a bit of like a psychotic, you have to be that psychotic, okay? So there's observation, there's resourcefulness, there's observation, there's creativity. Our ability to be creative, to outthink, to outdream. All of these slides that you're going to see, there's no words in them. All of them have been created by DALL-E, ChatGPT's cousin. Okay, the visual one? All of this, so you're going to see no words on the slides. All of this is a conception entirely created by AI. So there's so much creativity going on in the field of AI. We're going to have to retrain a new sense of creativity, which is really artful, which is really about breaking that norm, really about stepping above the norm, right? So we have creativity. Then there's the concept of care. The companies, the teams, the people that truly care for one another, you guys are going to really do well. There's no question about that. The people who really care are going to rock this next generation. You guys are going to rock the next wave of digital transformation that we are seeing. Because care is about really empathizing and feeling what the other person is going through and serving them and meeting them where they are. That real life care, human-to-human care, is what we natively seek as people. Even if you don't believe it, believe this, you all need care of some sort. Human beings need that. It's built in. It's factory fitted. We didn't ask for it. We were just built this way. So human beings will always continue to need that, and our teams, our customers will always need that, right? And the last one is understanding. It's really about bringing to bear a level of understanding that our customers can perceive, that our work colleagues can perceive. Understanding is about bringing about understanding. It's about showing up in the discussion and thinking the following. Hey, how about I shut up for 10 seconds and see the truth in what you are saying to me? Even though I don't really agree, I'm going to seek out the truth in what you're saying to me. That is so critical, so important in a world of AI. Because right now, have you seen how easy it is to get your emails written by AI? Do you see how many people are choosing the automated options? And you just see the same language flying back and forth in our ever-evolving world. Hi, so-and-so, we hope you are well in our ever-evolving world, blah, 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 blah. That's not bringing about understanding. Do you see that? It's just automated responses going back and forth, going back and forth. The people who are going to excel, the people who are going to make it, the people who are going to really trump the next generation will factually, and I say next generation, meaning this next wave of AI, the age of agency, those people are going to be factually the people who care to bring about real understanding. You know what they're going to do? They're going to show up in a room, they're going to show up in an email, and they're going to say, let's cut the crap. I get where you are coming from. I get it. You know what? 10 years ago, I had an experience like that myself. So you know what I'm going to go ahead and do? I'm going to actually take away all of the traditional protocol. I'm going to jump in, I'm going to do this manually. We're going to do an override. We're going to make it work for you. Do you see that? That kind of language is going to work. That's what's going to crack it. So let's just take a second. I'll only do this for a second because not all marketing audiences like tech. Who loves tech here? Oh, we have some tech lovers. Marketers have changed. You see? This is what I'm trying to tell the world. So this explains the anatomy of AI. This is how AI thinks in its brain. So the way it works is you have these things called neural networks. Neural networks are just a fancy way of saying the way data is organized. Data is organized in this complicated way because it was the only way that we could get AI to learn stuff similar to the way humans can learn. Okay? So if you have two things that are associated, in this case, you have a cat that's gray. You have other stuff that's gray. You even have a house that's gray. And the way AI works is that these two data points, like a house and a cat, both of them are gray. They are linked by the datum called gray, But there are so many other things that are also gray that are then associated with each of these items. You could get a gray scarf, a gray road, a gray building, a gray pot, gray wool. You could get any God's quantity of gray things. So you have all the gray stuff connected with this cat and all the gray stuff connected with the gray house, and they happen to overlap at some point. And this is why you get something called hallucinations. Have you heard about hallucinations? Because here's the thing. Like, people get angry with AI. I get angry with AI. I've had some seriously savage arguments with ChatGPT. I'm a little bit ashamed. I'm actually very glad that no one was privy to that, not even some of my closest friends and associates. But, it didn't dawn upon me that AI is just doing what it does all the time. It doesn't know that it's lying. Because the manner in which an AI is going to give you a true answer, the method that it used to give you a true answer is exactly the same as the method that it's going to use to give you a fabricated answer. So to it, it's done nothing wrong. Do you see that? And that's something else you've got to keep at the back of your mind. It doesn't know the difference between a lie and a truth. It doesn't. It factually, architecturally cannot know the difference between a lie and a truth. Isn't that scary? So when you go and scold it and you say, why are you lying to me? It apologizes. Do you know why it apologizes? Because that's what it's programmed to do, but it doesn't know what it did. If you ask another AI, or if you manage to get another algorithm on the same AI, it could probably spit out the same wrong answer, and it wouldn't know what it did wrong. Like, I feel my heart goes out to this AI. Like, it's like a child that doesn't know what the hell it's doing. But it's going to do that because if you look at the way these neural networks are structured, it can't do any better. Certainly, it's getting better and better, but please provide for the fact that it doesn't know the difference between a lie and a truth. Okay? So let's keep going here. So as a result of all of these hallucinations, obviously we find that there's a darker side to AI, and the darker side to AI isn't limited by the fact that there are technical deficiencies in this thing. We keep talking about this thing getting more and more advanced, and it is getting more and more advanced, and a lot of the limitations are getting eliminated. But even beyond its own limitations, there are also users of AI who are going to continue to use the software for purposes that are not great. That's going to be the case with any tool of mankind. Any tool that we invent, there's going to be a handful of people who use it for stuff that's not great. I don't want to spend a ton of time there. I just want you to, of course, make peace with move on, live your life, do your best work. Unless you are yourself getting involved in that kind of stuff, which is a totally different conversation, just don't tell me if you are, because I will report you. But the point is that, there is a dark side to AI. We're going to have to think about that and be clever about it. But I don't get involved in that too much because I leave that to the regulators, the people who are trying to do the hard work. For now, as marketers, my goodness, we have a tremendous opportunity to capitalize and leverage this technology, which is actually, factually, it is unregulated right now. And we've got this window of opportunity. I'm convinced that window is going to change its shape over the next few years. It has to. We have open access to this thing that can just do any God's quantity of wonders, and we can just use it any way we choose. I mean, this is nuts. I hope you're not sleeping at night. Because this thing is that amazing, you should be leveraging it every single day to the full. So on this, there's just a little bit of the bad side versus the good side. And again, like I said to you, focus on the good side. And if you're really running into stuff where AI is becoming a problem for you, or you're starting to see the downside of AI, maybe on some of your campaigns, maybe there's a competitor in your industry who's using AI to do some stuff that's not cool. Like, for example, you can run an AI to be clever about clicks on Google. And so they could be really drumming up your Google ad account without the relevant, the real life clicks and the monetization on the back end, right? And all of these little gimmicks are being used. My only advice to you in those situations is attack back using AI. So if you are be alert, because you're going to get a lot of scams coming up and attacking you in that way over the next little while, over the next primarily 18 months. So if you're going to go and find something weird happening in your numbers and your metrics, attack back using AI. The best defense that you have right now, guys, this notion of please stop AI, AI is bad, that's never going to work. It's just never going to work. It's just not going to happen. The only way you're going to survive a bit of an AI attack is by employing AI tools yourself to protect your particular strategy. So you can employ some AI tools to protect your Google Ad account. You can also employ some AI tools to act as a monitoring solution on some of your other digital assets. There's all sorts of things that you can do to defend yourself. So I just want to, I'm starting to wrap up here. I want to name out 4 types of AI users. And this is specifically around generative AI. The first type of user that we find, and this goes in stages, would be the user who happens to be, like we call it, let's pretend. These are the people who are pretending like AI doesn't exist. These are the people who are pretending that AI isn't a big deal, or that AI isn't fundamentally transforming, the way we work every day. So who here is in let's pretend? You don't have to pretend now. There must be blue shirt. Thank you. I felt like I drummed that out of you. Okay, but is there anyone else here who's like kind of like in that zone where they're neglecting the extent of the impact of AI? Anyone here? Okay, so there's only one. Okay, we have 2. Thank you. We have 3. The next category would be lethargy. This usually happens after you get with the program, you realize, wait a minute, this thing could help me? This thing could answer my emails for me? This thing could write my university essays for me? This thing could do my homework for me? It could do my, it could help my kid with my kid's homework, so I don't have to do that. It could actually prepare the strategy that my boss has been asking for the last 3 months. Wow, that's lethargy. Lethargy is when you ask AI to do the work for you. That's when you go ahead and you give it a very light, simple 2-line prompt and you say, prepare a strategy that does blah and blee. Proposals, whatever it might be. Okay, that's lethargy. That's where we're using AI in a very, very basic way, and we're not going to get a tremendous amount of value back from AI, generative AI in particular. Okay? The next one right up from there would be fair usage. Fair usage is where you are actually being very, very thoughtful about the quality of your prompt, you giving AI all the information that it requires for it to do a little bit of organizing work. So what it does is it takes your thinking, it takes your thoughts, your ideas, your concepts, and it lays it out coherently. It makes it a lot more readable. It expands on things that you might have gone over way too quickly. Because readability is an important thing. Sometimes when we speak, like the way I speak, I just always think that the other person's getting it. But sometimes people need a little bit more build-up in order to fully get the point. Do you see that? And when you throw all of your beautiful thinking into generative AI and you're using it at the level of fair usage, all generative AI is doing is it's acting as a really smart personal editor. It's organizing your thoughts and making your ideas a lot more palatable for the world. And that's really a good place to be. Who would say, in good conscience, for the bulk of the time, that you're operating at fair usage? That is awesome. I think we should give all of the fair usage people a round of applause. Well done. And then the final stage, stage 4, or phase 4, whatever you want to call it, that's the zone of opportunity. That's really where you want to be. You want to aspire to being at this point. This is where you've mastered the point at which a human being is at its strongest, and thus AI is at its weakest at that point. And then you are also aware of the point at which human beings tend to be kind of weak, and AI seems to be very strong, and you are operating in general at that juncture, at that point at which you are at your strongest, and AI is at its weakest, and you are also leaning on AI where it happens to be stronger than you, and you are constantly leveraging AI for those tasks. Does that make sense? Anyone here operating at that level? This is where you are typically surrounding yourself with various AI tools and applications for all the different aspects of your workflow, and it's not just about using generative AI. That's the zone of opportunity. And you really want to start finding that zone for you and your teams as soon as possible. Okay, so I just wanted to put a quick comment here on this whole concept of a wolf in sheep's clothing. This is just to caution you against going out and trying to buy every application there is. I know what it's like to be a marketer. I am a marketer. I love tools. I go and buy as many tools as I possibly can. I buy tools for a living. Be careful when you see something being advertised as an AI tool. Today, most AI applications have between 1 to 2 parent AI applications. Like the world's number one parent AI application right now would be ChatGPT. The bulk of other mini applications, all they're running is what's called an API into ChatGPT. So they're borrowing some of that intelligence or service into their app, which means that their app is very superficially AI. It's not true AI from the ground up. It's not built from the ground up, architected with an AI design. And this is the thing that you've got to watch for. It's the whole concept of a wolf in sheep's clothing. If you just go and run off and start investing in all these apps that promise to be AI apps, it doesn't mean that you're running a true AI workflow. What you really want to do is you want to pause. I would advise you to pause as much as you can right now and not make any significant investments in new technologies. Really watch the market at this point. One of the few companies that I find that's really making a bet from the ground up, architecturally speaking, on AI would be Microsoft. So Microsoft becomes a safe bet. It's like the difference between buying Zoom right now and buying Teams. Now let's be honest, who here really likes Teams? Right? Everyone hates Teams. But here's one of the differences over the next 18 months. Something like Zoom. When Zoom says that it's AI, do you know what Zoom AI actually is? All it's doing is it's running an AI to transcribe your meetings. That's it. And then it's organizing it into a summary format. That's it. That's superficial. Whereas look at what Microsoft is doing into the next generation. Microsoft is connecting Teams into an underlying thing called the Microsoft Graph, which is basically data that is ring-fenced within your tenant, meaning it's your instance of your data that no one else can access. And every time you do a meeting, all that data is going to the same place, which means that you can eventually start running queries like, write that proposal for me, and the way it writes the proposal to Jenny, you don't have to give it any further prompt because it recorded the meeting. And all that data is sitting in that sales meeting, and it's cross-referencing that data set against all of your other sales meetings to find the tone and manner, the product portfolio, all of those wonderful things is resident within this thing called the Microsoft Graph. But that's an example of a company that's building a brand new architecture from the ground up. Are we all cool on that? And I suppose the last message here, as I close out, is just a simple one. You know, we this wave, this tidal wave that is AI, we can fight it, or we can just choose to embrace it. We could just say, hey, ask yourself one question every single day. What is the one thing that you can do today that's going to make your work a ton easier, that's going to make your life a ton easier, and get you to be able to achieve so much more that you couldn't do in a world without AI? That's the one thing you've got to ask yourself over and over and over. And it really brings me to this idea of be comfortable to stand on the shoulders of a giant, a new giant, to see a farther distance. And that's it.